Right. Time to open? Not quite. Just listening to the
No, I don't think so. I think good to go.
Okay. 4:30.
We're live.
Thank you. We're going live. Just for people in the room, that means that everything is being live streamed. So anything that you say or do could be captured on camera. Same applies to us as well. Welcome everybody to what is going to be the last meeting of 2023 of the Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board. I want to welcome both members at the table and our guests. I'm calling, first of all, we'll have the prayer, the karakia. I'll just sit if you don't mind.
Whakataka te au ki te uru, whakataka te au ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia taratara ki tai. E hi ake ana te tukura, e hia, e huka, e haulu, tihei, hauri.
Thank you. Calling for apologies. I have none. I've got
one from Gamal.
Oh, from Gamal, an apology. Debbie Moore is on Zoom. Welcome, Debbie.
We need to move and see.
Happy to
I need a mover. Mark, seconded Marie. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Anyone who wants to declare an interest in any item? No declared interests. Confirmation of previous minutes. Do I have a mover? Andre, seconder Henk. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Public forum. We have at least 6 people for our or 5 people for our public forum. So we'll probably keep to time more than we usually do. So the first person is Piers Crowley, President of Canterbury Students Association, and he's talking to us about a tertiary discount for Christchurch City Council swimming pools. Welcome, Piers. If you've got a person with you.
I do, yes. So,
thank you.
This is Angeline, who will be just here. She's also on the executive. She's the postgraduate representative, and she's also a lifeguard at Jelly Park.
Great. Thank you. So
perfect. So basically,
minutes.
Yes. So I take it. Has the board been able to read our little document? I don't know if that came through, but if it did, basically what it was outlining is we had heard from a student, Jessica Lamb, who is also a lifeguard and a keen swimmer who isn't here today. She's not a lifeguard, well, she's definitely a keen swimmer. Shows what I know. So she came to us and she wanted to explore the idea of, she noticed there was a high school discount that had been utilized by her at that time. And she wondered, well, why is this not the case for tertiary students? She put to us that cost pressures for her were far greater now than they were when she was in high school, but the support was a bit less. So we kind of thought, oh, well, how can we progress this through? We did chat to Tyler about what he thought might be the best approach, and he recommended putting together a bit of a letter with our rationale for that and presenting it to the community board, ideally to start a conversation about getting the board to sign on to support something like this, either in a trial capacity or in an ongoing capacity for tertiary students. A few of the things that I would like to highlight from that document, particularly, is that the current pricing, we've identified, having chatted to a small range of students so far, to be perfectly frank, is a cost barrier to these students. And the current cost for context for an adult is $6.70 without a community services card. That's my understanding. With a community services card, which some students do have access to, it's $5. But for many students, in particular those under the age of 24, it can be a bit difficult to access a community services card, given the reliance on parents' incomes and things like that. So I would say for the average student, the cost would be $6.70. Currently, there's a high school discount which relies on, I think it runs off the Can Do card system or another form of a secondary school student ID, and that brings the cost down to $3.80 per. $3.80 per use without a community services card. But if you're a secondary school student with a community services card, it goes down to $3. Our view is that the material differences between secondary school students and university students is actually quite minimal. Obviously, there's greater, there's more tertiary students who do work, but the costs imposed on them, whether it be rent, lack of parental support and things like that, actually is outweigh that, and the balance is that the choice to engage in this recreational activity becomes a choice that adds up quite quickly. Obviously, $6 in isolation doesn't seem like too much, but it does add up. So our goal for this is to utilize this discount to encourage sustained behavioral change, things that will help influence their health and well-being of students, give them sort of an avenue to exercise recreationally in traditional ways. We also think it'll increase patronage of the pools. Obviously, a discount could be viewed as a cost, but currently these are students who are choosing not to use the pools due to the cost. So we would hope that such a discount would encourage greater usage, which in turn would perhaps even be cost neutral to beneficial if usage increased to such an extent, obviously.
It also plays into the council's sport and rec motto of more people, more active, more often.
For sure. Yeah, and I think obviously promotion and facilitating that, we would view ourselves and our organization as a key partner, should that be something that's progressed by council, should it get to that stage, in terms of selling it to students, making sure they're aware of these options. And if we were to get to that step, we would engage in further consultation with students to actually get a more concrete idea of the, collect data on the pressures that are facing them, because we understand at this stage it's more just a discussion. But I think that probably will wrap it there, because I see the time is getting a bit low. But we'd also be keen for this to involve Lincoln and Arda students as well, because in particular Lincoln, they're in the Selwyn district, but so many live in Riccarton, Ilam, and the surrounding areas. So I think it would be equitable in that sense. Anyway.
Okay, thank you very much. I've got a question from Andre and then Mark. Andre.
Thank you. It's pretty reasonable to ask. Just a question for you. Do students at the university have access to a gym, or do they have to pay for one?
They do have access to a gym. The gym is, let's just say the facilities are, I think they're entering their 50th year.
Okay.
And there's a new rec centre's been on the table for 20 years, but no pool.
Do you have an idea on, this is a tricky question to answer, how many students pay for a gym membership elsewhere?
I could tell you it's probably around, people who use the university gym is around 20% of students sign up ish.
Yeah.
So if you kind of extrapolate that out, probably a lot do.
Okay.
Okay, is there a request for extra time? Say a minute. Otherwise,
Yes, please.
Yep, move and I'll second. Okay,
Thank you, Alan.
Mark.
Yeah, I'm just wanted to question, are you aware of the swimming activation fund that we have as a board?
No.
Or is that something we could refer to staff to explore?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, in terms of the processes as I see them, thanks for coming in. We'll get a brief report on this, but you've come to us. What you need to do too is put a submission in during the long-term plan process and go and speak to that.
Okay.
And that's where you'll get the real influence. If we can support you, I think, but and we can support you in our submission, but the real people who make the call are councillors at the table.
Right. Yeah, I think maybe I wasn't clear. Yeah, I think this was just, we obviously want to engage in that process and see that as, we want to take it forward with legitimacy and don't want it to seem like we're doing this alone. We want to take the board along with us. But
and I think we probably haven't thought about it actually. I think so. It's the first time it's been raised. I've been around quite a long time, so it's the first time it's been raised with the board.
Yeah,
it seems overlooked. There's discounting everyone but tertiary shares.
Yeah, so that's why I recommended that they come here so we can get some discounting perspective. And also, it actually works with the net staff mandate of what Nigel Cox is trying to push forward around more people, more active, more often. So the reason why he doesn't want to look at pricing is because he wants to bring more people into the pools, which this would inevitably do. So I'd love if we could potentially, in some way, shape or form, provide a supporting letter to UCSA around this.
Yes.
If we're all in agreement of it.
Yes.
To be able to help them with their submission into more council procedures.
Yes. So we can't do something now, but are you wanting to get any disagreement at this point?
No, it's just really saying the community board completely support
Yes,
It's a letter of support, I think.
yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we can support you, and we can do a written submission on it with, in fact, other items. Yes, but you do need to put a long-term plan submission in yourself. Andre, then that's probably will.
And it did get many others to make a submission too. The reason I asked about the gym is something council's promoting at the moment is unlimited gym and pool use for a certain amount of dollars per week, I believe $20. So I'm just curious as to if we're able to achieve a discount, what we could then do to make sure it turns into increased usage, to make sure that word gets out. We'll potentially also look into, would students benefit from a discounted weekly membership rate for both gyms and pools, if a lot of them already have to pay for the gyms anyway.
Oh, well, 100.
Which would also
That's something we'd
include
love
pools,
to explore.
Yeah,
Seriously, and I think
Yeah.
that could be something we ask when we survey students: is where
That'd
do you
be-
go to the gym? Where do you swim now? Would you, if there was discounts?
Yeah, and also if they're aware that there's a $20 a week
Awareness
unlimited
is
gym and pool,
key.
how does it compare to your current? That'd be really, really useful information to get.
That's awesome.
And I know we're taking time, Helen, but just to note for the UCSA is they're now going to be going around and surveying students around what that looks like. Would you come to the pools? So there'd be quite a substantial bit of input in terms of what UCSA are going to be doing. So I'd recommend that they come and give us an update.
Thank you
Amazing.
very
Thank you
much
for the time.
for coming
Really
in.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it.
Have a nice Christmas. Thank you.
So are you happy if I put through something like that the staff, the board requests that staff investigate extending the discounts of entry pricing to pools and recreation centres to tertiary students and provide advice to the board?
Yes.
Yes, you put this at roughly the level of secondary students.
Well, the same, there's 25% discount for secondary student card
Yes.
holders. That would make sense for that to extend to tertiary
Yes.
student card holders. Yeah.
Extending the current.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a simple approach too.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It almost looks like it's just being overlooked over.
Yes, I think it's been.
But with Tyler, we were asking for a letter of support, or not yet, not at this stage?
Not yet.
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Not at this
No,
stage.
we'd do it through the formal submissions.
Yes.
So.
But if they wanted to,
in March, we actually do.
Yeah, no, because Tyler mentioned that,
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah.
because they'll probably be doing some consultation in semester one, I expect.
Yes.
And I'd probably say if we don't do it through our own submissions, then we could just say that we've supported them with the letter of support.
Yes. Okay.
Really easy.
I'm sure we can put it in now.
Just saying we support their bid for this, whatever. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Moving on now to Brian Dixon from the Hornby Men's Shed, and you've just come to do a presentation, Brian, on how things are going.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Okay. Right, yeah, I'm Brian Dixon, I'm chairman of the Hornby Community Men's Shed. Here we go. So why am I here to talk to you today? When the shed was first set up just over 2 years ago, this board gave us quite a generous grant to help us get established. So we thought it was appropriate that we report back as a way of accountability for that grant. So what is a men's shed? It's a community space where men can get together to connect, converse, and create. So they can connect with each other and connect with their community. They can converse. There's a saying that men talk shoulder to shoulder rather than talking face to face. Talk when they're working on a project together rather than just sitting down talking face to face.
That's probably true.
That is true.
And men can create. They can create individual and community projects, and that gives them a sense of purpose. So a slightly cynical view of
I love that. I love that.
Right. So why do we need a shed in Hornby? There's already quite a number of sheds in Christchurch. So why another shed in Hornby? There's a couple of reasons. Hornby, and you guys, it's your patch, so you know it as well as I do, it is not a well-off community. The deprivation index is reasonably high. A lot of people have lack of transport. People don't have space to set up a workshop. People can't afford the tools and stuff to set up their own workshop. So there's quite a big need from that point of view. That need's been recognised for a wee while. There's actually been 2 previous attempts to set up a men's shed in Hornby. One by Hope Church. I don't know too much of the detail about that. and the other one was by 126 on the corner. And Hank will probably tell you the saga of that. But basically, they ran into some consenting issues and decided to use the building as an op shop instead. The other reason for having a shed in Hornby is that it's important to have links in the local community. We've already developed quite strong links with a number of groups. The Greater Hornby Residents Association was involved in helping in the initial initiative to start the shed, and we've had some ongoing relationships with them. We've been working with Gilbert Hawke School, I'll talk about that later, Te Whare Awhero and the Hornby Community Care Centre. We've already been working with them. So what have we been doing? We've been running some programs in schools. We did run a program at South Hornby School where we took 90 Year 3 students through, and they worked in groups to make bird feeders. So we made about 30 bird feeders over about a 10-week period. We've also, this last year, and we expect to continue it next year, been running what we call a constructors club at Gilbert Hawke School, where we go there once a week and run a woodwork session with, we have 10 boys each term that we run through a program. That program at Gilbert Hawke School is sponsored by Te Whare Awhero. So they've covered the cost of the materials and also given us a little bit towards the shed funds for doing that. We're also working with Te Whare Awhero on the provision of garden beds. This is for people in the community who want to get into growing their own vegetables. We construct and install the raised frames for the beds, and other groups come in, provide the soil, put in the plant, or provide plants and provide mentoring for the people to run those gardens. We've worked with the Hornby Community Care Centre for their holiday program. Each holidays we've run one session where we provide a woodworking activity for children. The last holidays, our program was so popular they actually put on the second session that we had to run. The big limitation on how much of this community work we can do is just simply the number of members we've got. And at the moment, because we don't have a base, we don't have a shed, it's very hard to attract new members. So there's only a relatively small core of us doing these activities.
Can I just say you've only got about a minute left?
Yeah,
so
that's good.
Questions? Yeah.
Because on the last slide.
Thank you.
Which brings us to the next point. Early on, it was suggested we could put a building on Waikola Park, but there were a few problems with that, particularly around resource consent, and there'd be limitations on what we could do, particularly expansion of things. So currently we have an application into the council this is in conjunction with several other community groups to use the former Presbyterian Church site at 151 Gilbert Hawkes Road. So we're hoping to hear from the council about that next year, early next year. Mark will tell you a bit more about where that's at. Okay, so I'd like to just thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the shed, and also thank you for the grant that you've given us.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. I'll just, any questions? We're virtually over time. Anyone got a question?
I'm really interested in that Gilbert Hawkes Road.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, it's important. Yes. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you so much.
Brian.
Thank you. George Blackston, is he here? Greetings, George. You come up to the table, and you're talking to us about the South Express cycleway, light phasing at Mandeville and Low Streets. So you've got maximum of 5 minutes. We push for time with the number of speakers, but allow time for questions if you want questions. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just here to discuss the Mandeville Street cycleway connection, the lights. It's the light connection that's near Tower Junction, if anyone's aware. So I've put up a little slide here to explain what the issue that I'm bringing to the community board about is. It's the way the light phasing works at the intersection. So you can see up here put in 0.1, that's where the cycle crossing is currently. And then the green lines represent the green for like cars allowed to drive through, and the lights. So the issue is currently cyclists and pedestrians are waiting in inordinate amounts of time at the cycling lights, at the lights, waiting to cross when there's no cars coming. So people are forced to wait for up to a minute, minute and a half for no reason whatsoever. And it's partly a safety issue because I regularly, when I wait here to cross, just to kind of prove a point that it's taking ages, multiple people will walk across when they're not allowed to. And just about 2 weeks ago, I was waiting and a girl on a scooter was coming the other way, went straight across the intersection without even stopping. And then a car came and missed her by a short. She'd have come a little bit later and hit. And this is a big safety issue. And the solution is actually quite simple to fix. And I've already made a SnapSense report to the council and emailed the council directly. And I received back information from the engineers and they said they're not going to do anything about it, which I think is quite disappointing. So this is why I emailed Tyler and he invited me to come to the meeting. So is this working?
Yep.
So if I just quickly explain, so the green, go to the first one. So the green phase, this is the standard how it is, where it's right filter onto Low Street and then straight through going north on Mandeville Street. This is what it is most of the time. Then Blenheim Road goes red and then north-south for Mandeville Street happens. And still no cyclists allowed to go, obviously, because this would be a dangerous time for cyclists and pedestrians to cross. And then next, the right turn from Blenheim Road turns onto Mandeville Street. And this will be just when the cars are coming through, this is when the light goes red. So just at the worst time possible is when all these cars are coming through. The only time there's cars coming through here is when the light goes red, and then that's when cyclists can go. So the bit up to this point is probably about a minute to a minute and a half, just
At least
of that cyclists could go. There's no cars coming. It's perfectly safe to do so. Legally, they cannot cross though because the cycle signal has not changed. So if I go to my suggestion, it's quite simple. I requested for the light spacing to be simply changed to allow this go from green to red, and then allow cyclists to go through here.
I haven't quite got that. Could you just explain that again, please?
What part do you not understand?
The solution.
The solution. So through here, instead of allowing
you can jump up
cars.
if you like, George. Do you want?
Oh, okay. So this bit here, at point 1, the lights here, the cars can turn right onto Low Street, but there's no cars coming. The only cars that are going to come this way are, because it's through this slipway here,
Okay.
and then up onto Mandeville Street. So what I'm proposing is asking the engineers to do is just make this turn into a red phase when someone wants to cross, and then allow people to cross safely.
Yeah.
Because if there's no one coming, there's no point to have that as a green place.
Okay.
For the majority of the time. I don't know if I explained that very well.
Thank
That
you.
is good.
Thank you very much. Now we've got 30 minutes for questions.
30 minutes.
My word.
Sorry.
Wow. Curiosity.
Sorry, NDS. I've got a question. Are you where do you live, George? Are you in Mandeville Street or are you?
I actually live across town in Waltham, but I actually commute through this way to get to get my night classes.
Lotus area.
Yeah, so I come here at least once a week, probably 3 or 4 times a week for like errands and stuff.
Thank you. Sarah.
What was the engineer's response to your request?
Did
they give a reason why it couldn't be done?
They said it was the light phasing was already optimal, and exactly. It was designed by an avid cyclist. The person who designed the light section was designed by an avid cyclist, so there's nothing. They're going to do nothing basically. I do have the email which I think I had sent through to Tyler.
Yeah.
So if you do want to read that a bit,
I'll try and find it and I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
So I should have popped it up.
Thank you. So now, Faye, our board will get a report on this.
It's already been considered by the traffic
Yeah.
engineer.
Yes. So what's the next step, do you think? Anybody?
Well, it's an interesting one because in this one, I use this 3 times a week. the South Express connection going through to Hagley, through the Hagley Park, South Hagley Park, is this connection here. And this is where the biggest wait is by far. But there are people definitely, if they looked at the cameras, there's people breaking that red light rule nearly every second time they're there. It's really shocking. Yeah.
So what do we want to do with this? Do we bring this staff report back to our next meeting in February to discuss it further? Was anyone got any other idea?
You mean the CSR response?
Yes.
Well, they provided a response, which is staff response.
Yes.
This now becomes, as much as I hate to say it, a political response around what we believe.
Yes.
And then we have to see how that works out. Because there are things that staff say and they are experts in their field, obviously.
Yes.
So we need to see exactly where it is that we could probably look at doing this. But because of Low Street, that's the interesting part there. It's because there's so many different actions on this that make it really hard to provide appropriate green lights for pedestrians to cross.
Could I suggest that we circulate the response back from staff to the board members, or we could provide it in the next area report to be discussed at the next meeting in February?
That's good, I think.
Or we could ask for staff advice on light phasing and any suggestions for improving times for
we can get
and
comment
they
back on
can
that.
give us what they've already done.
We'll report back in February by the area report.
Because the issue isn't actually really the light phasing, it's the breaking of the rules of the light phasing, which we're trying to mitigate.
Yeah, we'll include that in the area report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, George. So if you'd like to come to our February meeting, we'll discuss it. We'll get Faye to contact you because
it won't be an agenda item. We'll just be in the area
report. It'll be towards the end of the meeting.
If staff can comply, we can only request that.
We can keep them updated.
We may not get that advice back in February.
We'll be in touch.
We'll be in touch.
Okay. Yeah, well, hopefully we can table something in February for actual discussion. Thank you, George. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sue Malloy, is she here? Sue Malloy, no, thank you. Drusilla Kingy-Patterson, thank you. If you'd like to come to the board and welcome. You've been here before on issues, so thank you for coming in. And you've got a fairly restricted time of 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm not going to, I've got a crook leg, new boots, new work boots. So before I start, can I just give my card to that gentleman I was really interested about the shed. I was actually first female cabinet maker in New Zealand. But I won't tell you what year.
Just used to
okay,
that.
and I'd like to help with that.
Thank you.
All right. The reason why I've come is just to keep you informed. Okay, I've been setting up film for 20 years. I've got 4 film projects, but it's just kind of like a hobby at the moment, and it has been because I've lost 5 family members, and we've had an earthquake, we've had a terrorist attack, and all these things in the middle of it. I did the Commonwealth Games, and then I did repertory and opera. In the Commonwealth Games, we did round the world in 80 days, and it was all the companies all over Canterbury. That's what started me off. Okay, can I just I've got some maps. Now there's a map there. What my presentation today is, I've finally decided where we're going to set our studio up, which is the last week. I've just decided that we're going in. I've got the Christchurch Arts Centre at 226. I've got a play that I've been working on for 8 years, and now they've built a brand new theatre on Rolleston Ave, the Kindness Foundation, which means I can put ballet in there and other stuff. My photocopping bill this year was 45,000, got 100 grand tied up in stock, and I'm now helping Mr. Rainbird dress the Grand, which is in Cathedral Square, and we will be running meetings there as well. And next year I'll be presenting in front of the Waimakariri and the Selwyn District and the long-term plan. So this is kind of 8 years' work. What I've noticed is my concern is that we need an emergency management centre for film work for people like myself, that you live in one area, but you work in another. And so you'd never meet the criteria. And then also, if I want to plan a film, like I've got a terrorist film, which is, I've just been to a workshop in Dunedin, got an MG and a rock, and I've come up with a Russian spy who steals a meteorite, and they go all the way down the South Island and end up in a helicopter fight at Fox Glacier. So there's the project. You don't pick the project picks you. And so for my thing is emergency management. Now, I also spoke to somebody who was in lockdown with the terrorist attack. And what really concerned me was the fact that if that person had a bomb, they could have blown up our whole emergency system. Now, even though I work on traffic management and I work on call and I've got children all over the place, I'm from 10 and a family, I can't attend emergency management meetings, like even though my house is in Waimakariri in Rangiora, I actually spend 3 nights living in town in Bishopdale so I can do a 6:30 start. And a lot of us are all like that. And like I lobbied on the stadium for 8 years. I want a centre, something like this, that I can walk in and I can see maps like this. That if we've got a project that we want to work and coordinate and work with people and bring people in, we can actually do it. So it has to be accessible to the community. And I realised that when we did the share idea, everybody did the share idea, but they never came back to the community. And this is what we want. It may not be Hornby. I'm looking at Bishopdale or Linwood as well, and we'll finalise that. But what I am interested in is the old Hornby Library, because it's strategically near Wigram Air Base. It's strategically near Christchurch Airport. I did go down and have a look at your new library location. I walked all around there. Not ideal. There is a fire station in Waimakariri, Waimari Road, but that's going to be leased out, but it's not near a railway. And if we end up going for rail, the Hornby site would be the ideal location. So this is just to make you aware. We'll be speaking in front of the council on this.
Okay.
But this is where I'm at.
Thank you very much. Now we've got a brief time for one question. Is there anyone who's got a question?
No, I just see Riccarton's missed out on the light rail part.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, with your permission, I might move to 5.2, which is Riccarton Craft Bradshaw Terrace. I think this is going to be less debate than 5.1, which is the Horsell Junction Road extension.
Do we not have one more speaker?
No,
you're not speaking? Horsell?
Tony Dale is going to move to Tony Dale, but you're from. Yes, can I move to the Riccarton issue and then come back to you?
I've got to go to another board. That was the only reason.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
okay, well, come up to the table.
No, we need to do the deputation.
Yeah, it's a deputation.
Lindsay's she's staff. So the deputation is the Horsell Residents Association,
Yes.
David and Ross.
Yes. So look, I'll keep to the program then. So we've got deputations. As the new staff members. Okay, that's fine. We'll kick with 5.1. We'll go with Horsell Residents Association. We've got David, John, and Ross. And for those who don't know, Ross used to be a board member a term ago. Thank you. Welcome, Ross. Thank you very much, Tristan. So we're on to something that's, yes, tricky, I guess. So
it's not very tricky from our view.
You've got a maximum of 10 minutes, including questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm David Hawke, Secretary of Horsell Residents Association, and Ross McFarlane is from our committee, and over in the grandstands is John Bennett, our chairman. So thanks for the opportunity to talk to you today. As you probably know, we have a strong interest in road names, and there are two reasons for that. Firstly, road names are around a very long time. And secondly, we think that in Halswell we've been on the receiving end of some pretty strange road names. And so we remind you of Monsanto Drive, Fauna Street, Paradise Way, and we could keep going, obviously. But anyway, today we thought we'd divide our comments into two parts. So firstly, there's the process in getting the names to you for approval. So this is going to apply to both the Hornby names and the Halswell names that are before you today. But the actual names that have been chosen is the second thing. And we're going to obviously confine our comments to the Halswell names, because the Hornby people can obviously look after themselves, except I suppose we'd say that there are some eyebrow raisers among the Amy's Road proposals. So let's start with the process. So this is from your agenda. So your staff report states, the recommended road names have been checked against the council's roads and right-of-way naming policy dated 2nd of November 1993 and are considered to be consistent with this policy except as outlined below. So the problem here, of course, is that the 1993 policy is no longer valid. It was replaced by the Naming Policy 2023, which was approved by council on the 15th of November. It's 4 weeks ago. Furthermore, the consultation process in arriving at that now current policy was public. It closed in August, the hearing in early October. I think Councillor Peters was on the naming policy panel. So there's no excuse for either developers submitting names that are not compliant with the new policy, and no excuse for staff assessing these names under the old policy. And if, as elected members, you wanted to go see the 1993 policy before today's meeting, just to cross-check, you couldn't, because it's no longer on the council's website. So the new policy was implemented for a reason, and quoting from the policy, this naming policy will give effect to our strategies, including the Christchurch Multicultural Strategy, Te Rautaki Matawaka, I've got myself tangled up there, Matawaka Rau 2017, and Our Heritage, Our Taonga 2019, and provide appropriate direction on use of Māori names consistent with our responsibilities to mana whenua. So the new policy is not a trivial matter. There have been major changes with the new policy, and our request, therefore, is that you decline to approve names before you today and send them back to staff for assessment under the current naming policy. So then we go to the names themselves. So, as I say, we've got the Halswell names. So we have Silverhorn Drive. And, you know, like, really? And so multiple points. Firstly, it's 230 kilometres away. It's not visible from Halswell. It has no relevance. And the alternatives, Mount Whitcomb, just up the road from Silverhorn. And there are other alternatives, Mount Midsa, Mount Binsa, and Mount Ennis. No local relevance, not visible from Halswell. And the subdivision is Country View. And if you're in Country View, your aspect's actually to the south, but all the names are to the west. They're in the wrong direction. Then you have to be careful about names. All of these peaks had names before the Brits turned up in the 19th century. Can I quote to you from 1920? I'm trying not to make this a lecture, and I'm probably not succeeding.
No, you're not doing very well. Keep going, please.
A 1927 publication. It's actually well known and reprinted recently. Place Names of Banks Peninsula by a guy called Johannes Anderson. He starts off his book with a comment, the place names of a country, large parts of its history lie embalmed. Goes on to say in New Zealand, the British names, this is 1927, the British names have been given in memory of places or persons in the homeland. Not much relevance to Halswell. I have to say we don't particularly care about the developer's preference for a theme of mountains in the region. So which region? So we want names relevant to Halswell. So in the new policy, clause 6.1 refers to continuance of a pre-existing theme. But we say to you, we've had enough of colonial era locality names that apply somewhere else. And one of those names is actually Gammock Drive. They haven't spelt it correctly. It's got the wrong number of M's. So how does this happen?
Typo.
Well, it's a typo that's been spread around. But let's be a bit more practical here. So the neighbouring developers have different themes, so why not go with one of them? Developers come and developers go, I have to say, but they leave their chosen road names behind for us to live with. So let's summarise the process in getting these names before you today is invalid because it uses an outdated policy. The proposed names don't apply to Halswell, so we therefore ask that you decline the request for approval as this board has done previously when inappropriate names have come before it. Thanks for listening and my apologies for the lecture. Kia ora.
Thank you very much, David. Do you want to add anything, Ross?
No, David sums it up reasonably well and quite pointedly, I think.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Mark?
So would I be correct in getting out of that, you'd like us to lay this on the table and send it back for further advice?
Absolutely. Yeah. You could provide some pointers in doing that. I'm not sure whether you're able to do that.
Yeah. Well, but we can check that.
I've got a question. Mark's asked, you've got the question answered, haven't you? Yeah.
Have you got alternative names?
Of course we do.
David I shouldn't have asked, sorry.
Of course we do. And you'll see in your briefing on your agenda is actually community did come up with a name, and we happen to know what it is.
Right.
And it would actually tie in with one of those neighbouring themes, but it's actually not up to us in the present circumstance to put that name to you. There's a process that has to go through.
Sure.
Other than saying the developer felt that it wasn't in theme with his country view subdivision.
3.4 in the
Thank you.
report.
So if no further questions, I'll ask you to stand back from the table. Thank you for coming in. We'll have the staff presentation. You're welcome to stay for that, and then we'll have debate on it. Thank you. Staff?
No, we've still got one more deputation.
I'll bring forward, if I could, that Halswell debate.
No, we've still to finish the deputation.
Sorry?
We have to finish the deputation.
And there's staff here waiting and then to get to another meeting.
Yeah, I thought at council you bring them forward. Well, I'll put it to the board. Do you want me to bring forward item 8? I think the staff have to go each too.
Yes.
But that's.
We're talking about the Halswell Junction.
So I'm bringing Halswell Junction Road extension forward, and then the proposed lane names forward too as well, 8 and 9.
Yep. But is there one more deputation?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'd rather have the actual deputation?
Oh, yeah, we'll need that first.
Okay. Okay, if you want that. Tony, thank you. Welcome, Tony. And you're doing a deputation on Bradshaw Terrace. If I could just say, this has been an issue for 10 years.
13.
So welcome, Tony. Thank you. And just if I can add this, there's been 2 lots of public consultation has gone out to Bradshaw Terrace. The first one got taken back because of the earthquake, and then it came up again about 2019 and was taken off the table again through a long-term planning process. So the Bradshaw Terrace people have been disappointed, if you like, over the last 10 years. So welcome. We have this on the table now, and please say what you want to. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll be brief. Yes, I am appearing today just to thank the board for considering and hopefully progressing the Bradshaw Terrace renewal. As Helen has pointed out, it's been 13 years, and I'd like to thank Helen especially for all of her work to progress this project to the point where it's got to now. So it is well overdue for Bradshaw Terrace, which may not be the worst conditioned street in Christchurch, but it's probably the worst street in Riccarton. So once again, thanks very much to you all for considering and hopefully voting to progress the Bradshaw Terrace renewal.
Thank you very much, Tony. Mark's got a question.
Yes.
Thank you.
Would it be fair to say that Madam Chair, Helen Broughton has been very tenacious in this?
Yes, indeed. Yes. Noticed.
Yes. Any other question? No? Thank you, Tony. And if you wish to stay, we'll have the debate first of all on Halswell Junction Road extension and then Bradshaw Terrace. Thank you.
Very good.
Agenda, so now we have.
Okay. 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 So, okay, so
ask if there's any
prior to going to Halswell Junction Road, we'll do the presentation of petitions. Any petition?
No.
No, thank you. 7 correspondence. We'll note that we've received correspondence from Amber Hicks suggesting a location for a new dog park on Delamain Park, Fjordhurst. So is she coming to speak to us? No.
Just note the correspondence.
But she's planning to come and speak?
No.
Okay.
Happy to
No.
move.
Happy to move that? Seconded, Henk. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, Halswell Junction Road extension. The new road name for Halswell Junction Road cul-de-sac, Lindsay White, Aviva Kui. Kui? Kui, thank you.
Thank you.
So you might like to start on sort of a presentation on road names.
Yeah, so thank you for seeing us today. Am I able to respond to the deputation? So obviously within our report, we confirmed that the road names did meet the policy that was in place at the time. We also checked all of those road names against the draft naming policy, which was in draft at the time, hadn't been approved. And we should have written that in there as well, but we only kept in the section that talked about the policy that was in place at the time. So that was possibly where the confusion came, but we have made sure that everything complies with the draft policy that was going through at the time. So we assume that the report is as read, and it was just really if there were any questions.
Thank you. So has anyone got any questions?
This is which item are we looking at? 8. Yep. Cool.
Right. Do you have any comments about the questions raised at all by submitters, or any comments on?
Can I also say really appreciate to all of the residents, especially affected residents who provide their feedback. We did receive 70% of affected residents, and they include the property owners and the occupiers right now. The project manager team and myself heard lots of great, lovely stories, and our residents really willing to spend their time to share the story to us. So I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you to all of the submitters.
Okay, thank you. Well, if there's no further questions, I'll ask you to stand back from the table and we'll debate this issue. Thank you. Have you got a question?
No.
No, thank you. Mark, you're leading off debate or discussion.
What I'm wanting to do is propose an amendment.
Okay.
So there's nothing on the table yet, Mark. So you want to move a different. Yep. Okay.
Okay. So if you wish to move your motion,
I'd like to move that the name be Panther Place.
I would second that.
Thank you. So if you could just read that out, Faye, again, or just state what you understand.
Well, Mark has just moved that the name of the Halswell Junction Road extension be Panther Place. So it's an alternative to the staff recommendation. It's been moved and seconded.
And that's item 8. Thank you.
In that case, just to be clear, Helen, Madam Chair, would that work in conjunction with the current policy in place? Could that be an approved name before we move?
Yes, it is. So the consultation designed when we did the early stage, which project manager did early consultation, and from early to the consultation, we all referred at that time was draft naming policy, and right now it's naming policy. So the most recent version of naming policy because the consultation, when it's changing, a change of road name, we consult to affected residents. But with the new, when it's a new road name, and it's not generally needed to consult for the new road name, then that's the reason we didn't ask.
So the question that Mark asked, so I'm clear, is that the proposal that Mark's putting forward does meet our new naming policy?
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Because I think from memory, it was a second favourite anyway. Wasn't it?
Yeah, Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not changed.
That's game changing.
Okay. So
Excuse the pun.
yes, I've got a mover. I think
Hank seconded.
Seconded. Yes. So I guess we'll open it now for discussion. Mark.
Yep. I guess by way of explanation as to where this amendment came from, there's been discussions with community members, the Hornby Rugby League Club and other residents on the street, and their real preference was the Panther Place. From what they were discussing with us, they were talking about the longevity of the relationship of the club with the area and how it superseded the Buffalo Lodge, and the fact that it continues to have such a massive presence in the community there. It kind of makes a bit of sense to I guess, respect was one of the largest influences in that area. So I'm happy to propose and put that forward for the name of that cul-de-sac.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak on this? Any opposing view? Marie.
I'm just concerned about the naming of this road was consulted with those directly affected. So those residents living in this street. And the consultation was specifically for them, not the whole community. And it was actually brought to their attention when the community had put it out in public. And the results are in the report, and the majority of those residents who are directly affected, who are living in that street, have, so we see that the total weighting was Buffalo Place. So I'm just concerned that that was what came out in the consultation with the directly affected property owners and occupiers. And now here we come in and suddenly change it. So because of talks with the community, but this is just specifically for the residents of this street, particular street. Just concerned about that.
You're welcome to vote against it.
Thank you. Andre?
My understanding is that the resident in the cul-de-sac who suggested Buffalo Place in the first place has since realised that Panther Place would be a more appropriate name. And had they thought of that at the time, that would have been their preference. So yeah, I certainly never thought I'd want to support Panther Place for any street. And I'm actually keen to move an amendment of my own to name it Hornets Place. I understand if no one wants to second that, however.
Can I just ask?
Sarah, thank you.
So just with regard to the process, is this particular process, or this question, am I allowed to ask a question?
Probably, no, probably
okay.
to us or Jess or myself, yes.
Okay, so I'm just curious to know if this process around just allowing one vote per resident and then a couple of community organisations to get one vote, if that's part of the draft policy.
That's not.
So that's just what staff
engagement. This is engagement.
Okay, so there's
It's not
no
part of the
policy around naming that we consult with these number of people. So we're not going against council policy by choosing.
No, the naming and consultation two
separate. Okay, okay, that's fine.
Debbie has a question.
You wanting to add something there?
Debbie.
Debbie. Oh, hi, Debbie. Question? Comment?
Yeah. Just following up with what Andre
Hi,
said.
Debbie.
Yes, can you hear me?
Are you there, Debbie?
Yes, I am.
No,
Hello.
sorry, we're having technical. Not on there.
This one's not on?
Oh.
Can we let that?
Yes, she can hear us. This one.
It's on.
Is
Yes.
there, are you there, Debbie?
Yes, I am.
We can't.
Can't hear her.
Take the camera out. If I could record, it might speak.
She can.
The blue light's not on this.
See her.
Yeah, this,
I can
Sorry, do
hear
want to see
you,
my
but
amendment?
can't hear me.
It's all good.
Something
No,
about
it's all good.
Halswell.
No, it's all good. It's all
team?
good.
Hey, when it comes to Halswell having a close, I'll do it, mate. Maybe we can have a playoff.
Debbie,
Yeah.
can you hear us?
Indeed. Next year.
Could call it Hornet Junction Road.
Well, we can't hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I just ask
Yeah,
staff
sure.
then, or us?
Go ahead.
I mean,
Can you call
ahead.
me?
if
Call
as
me.
you say, Andre, that
I can hear something.
they changed their
Call
mind,
me.
would they have had the
Hello?
opportunity?
Oh, here we go.
Hello?
Hi, Deb.
As numbers.
Did you not have the volume up?
Not sure.
Wow, it was your end.
Hi, Deb. You've got
Hey,
a comment or question?
Yeah, I've got a question, just following up from what Andre said about the people from the place that think that they would be happy with another name. Have we got that in writing from them? Or is this
The change of mind, the change of mind.
I
about-
spoke to him.
Well, you've got
Mark's
the
spoke.
change of
No,
mind?
in writing.
multiple
Do we have that in writing?
well, about four of us heard the same message on the phone that he gave each one of us. So
Yes, I've had a phone call.
But that was one person, one vote.
But that was the Buffalo Place.
It was the person who
Option.
proposed Buffalo Place in the first place, is my understanding.
But
Which
then
he would have, if he'd known that, he would have withdrawn Buffalo Place as an option, is what the.
But then other
So,
residents had voted already.
Three.
but hey, is what it is. We're in the democratic process, and
Yes. Deb, have you got a comment on which?
Oh, well, I was just wondering how many were, with what Marie raised, how many were consulted originally? So we've got one person saying that they would be happy to change the name. How many others in the place, have they all been consulted and asked if they wish to change the name? Or would they be happy? When they've already said Buffalo, has anyone approached them asking if we'd be happy to change it when they've already said in the consultation process otherwise?
No,
There's only two other
not
people.
officially by council staff. This is via community board members that this information has come.
Yes. And
That's
certainly
why I was
phone
asking
calls.
if something. That's why I was asking if there was support from the residents.
well,
via-
it's the 8 out of the respondents chose it as a second choice. So we're fairly safe that there's fairly good support for making it Panther Place.
Yes.
Unless, of course, when we don't
Yes.
support councils.
I think the issue is that we just can't get the process right. If we went to Buffalo, went to Panther, it then goes back to the developer, and then he says yes or no. Is
No
that correct?
No developer.
No,
This is the council road. This is a
No,
Yeah, no, yeah.
Helen, we've had that.
existing road.
The
so-
council is road reserve.
Road reserve. Okay.
Helen, we had that before. Remember over Laloli Place was put to us, and then
That's right.
we wanted Colin Laloli, and the staff recommended at that time that we needed to be careful because if we wanted to change something, they might change something completely.
Okay, thank you. Mark's got a
If
comment.
you can recall that.
Thank you.
Can I give a point of interpretation of the result here?
Yes.
Panther Place was the most chosen for first choice. It was 8 times chosen for second choice. So I think we're on fairly safe ground here going to Panther Place. So,
Can you say that again, Mark, so I can hear?
Yep, on the results there, Deb, four of the submitters chose Panther Place, which is the highest number of first choice. And then for the second choice, by far the highest number was the second choice. So I think we're on fairly safe ground.
Oh,
It's pretty tight
yeah, it is.
that's
for first.
8 for Buffalo, sorry.
8 for Buffalo, yeah.
Councillor.
Yes, no, sorry, I misread that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Well, you've got 120 years of history from a very well-established place. The average resident stays in their house for around 13 years in Christchurch. I don't know. For me, it's different, and there's at least 50 rugby league teams that would probably say different. I don't know, this is just my perspective.
Yes.
But I do have a perceived conflict being a young Hornby Panther in my day.
Oh, right.
I've always got a perceived conflict because I dicked him on the field back in the days when I was playing on the wing.
More debate.
I think it should go to vote.
So we actually got a motion on the table. Could you read that out again, Faye, so we're all clear?
Right, so the motion is that the board approves 10th Place as a new road name for the cul-de-sac section of Halswell Junction Road.
Okay, so it's cul-de-sac, and I think we're free to recommend, it's recommending only or approval?
No, it's approval.
So it's approval. So.
Approving what name are we voting on?
Panther rather than buffalo. So Mark, if you want to exercise a right of reply.
Yep, no, that's fine. I can hear the reticence of Marie and Deb on this one, and respect their respecting of the consultation. The reason for the change is really through talking to significant person at the rugby league club, and them highlighting the longer history, and also with the communication that a number of board members had from a resident in the street, and just trying to respect the history in the area, really, and to try and do the right thing for people of Hornby. So,
thank you.
If you do choose to vote against it, you're more than welcome to. That's democracy.
Thank you. And I've made an error as I said around everybody. I thought it was Halswell, but it's Hornby. Okay.
Wouldn't be a Panther by
No way. No way.
It's the wrong area.
Okay, so I'll put the resolution. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Deb? Any of you?
Marie's against.
Right.
Recorded, Marie?
Carried, so that the resolution is carried.
Yes.
Thank you.
The place.
This is the most peculiar decision I've ever made in the whole year I've been in.
Tell me about it.
Thank you very much.
Goodness gracious.
It's fun though, isn't it?
It's a good result though.
And
It's nice to smile at the end of the year.
I'm overjoyed.
Yeah, I know. I knew you would be.
moving on now to item
Oh my
9,
gosh.
proposed lane names, Amy's Road and Place Road. Could I have a staff member to the table? Paul Lowe, thank you.
Okay. I thought this one might generate a bit of interest.
Thank
Look, I might just provide a bit of background on this report and the names. The report was probably prepared about 3 weeks ago, as I recall, and the policy didn't come into effect until the 1st of December. And I thought I'd end up having to come along to talk to it, because technically, we've assessed it under the old policy, which was in place until the 1st of December, and that's how we treated it in this report. And I probably viewed this as the last of a legacy of reports. We have pushed back with the developer on 48 Quapes Road and outlined to them that there might be some resistance to those names. And ultimately, whether it's under the old policy or the new policy, the discretion lies with the community board, and they have an ability to assess what's appropriate in the context of the policy. So, yeah, for the Quapes Road one, I think that probably addresses some of the issues that were dealt with. And then for Amy's Road, I would acknowledge too that some of those names, if they were assessed against the new policy, would be, some of them are relatively weak names, unrelated to the locality. Some of them are related to Maori names that do have, a consultation. There's been a consultation process to assess that they're appropriate. So they had support from the cultural advisor, and there's some reserve names as well. But equally, again, if the report was to go undetermined, and were to go back for new names, any new names would be assessed against the new policy. And any feedback that's provided as part of that process would go back to the applicant. Amy's Road, I probably should just clarify as well, it hasn't been approved. It's a live application. And there was some pushback with the applicant from the processing staff with that one as well, but I don't have the detail of that in front of me.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. So questions, Mark?
I think Tyler was first.
Sure. Take it.
Oh, Tyler, sorry.
The Quakes Road alternatives obviously are for mountains, which the association just said that they hold no significance to Horswell. I was really curious what the alternative names would have been, because the alternatives we see here are just more mountains, and I completely understand the developer is wanting to continue with that brand of mountains.
I'm not sure what the alternatives were. I just know that the Residents Association had talked to the developer. I actually think that mountains, in the Southern Alps can be a theme that's applied appropriately to road names. And I guess it depends how far you have to go. And I guess one of the challenges I've always had with community boards is, how far a theme can be taken. Because even names of national significance or removed can be relevant. For example, Longhurst has national parks in New Zealand. None of them are located in Halswell. There's also no mountains in Halswell, but they're visible. It's how far you go. It can vary from board to board. So even with the new road naming policy, which does provide better direction, it's not always a straightforward thing to put forward to community boards, because they all vary in what their preferences are.
I see. And just for clarification, I know we've done this before, but I can't recall. So the developer comes up with names to potentially be approved by council staff. Council staff then put it to community board?
No, the process is that the developer will put forward names under the new policy. There's typically not a require to consult. That's set out in the policy. That's been our practice in the past. And council officers will check them for consistency against the policy, and also with LINs, just to make sure they're not repetitive or inappropriate for technical reasons. If there's a te reo name that hasn't been approved by Runanga, we will send that to a cultural advisor to make sure that's appropriate. But then we report to the community board. The community board make the decision. The discretion on the road names lies with the community board.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
So if there was a Māori name proposed, knowing that area, because one of them is my Runanga, do I have to consult with two Runanga to be able to get that approved?
Not necessarily. So the process we have agreed with Mahanui is that the best names come from Runanga, and if they're gifted to us, they're just, the policy says accept those names.
Gotcha.
So they're the best quality names, but there's no reason that a developer can't choose their own te reo name. And for those ones, they go through a check with a cultural advisor to make sure they're not going to be offensive.
I see.
Or sometimes you get people who are well-meaning, but they merge words or use the inappropriate word, or there's the potential for it to be offensive.
Much clearer. So I go to MKT. Alternatively, I go through the developer to provide a Māori name that will be potentially inoffensive. Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. A question from Andre.
I'm actually wondering, will the residents on this road actually have a clear view of that mountain?
I would doubt that a lot of the mountains in the Southern Alps would be visible from there. Whitcomb Pass, for example, is up the Rakai Gorge. Mount Whitcomb's the Waipuna Gorge. Tasman, it is some distance away.
I just wanted to understand how they landed on this.
it's not always clear from the developers.
Yeah, just go with the theme of mountains as opposed to it can be seen from this.
Can I just clarify the process? If we said no to one of them, does it go back to the developer as a no, and then he considers that?
It will go. It will go back to the developer.
Yes.
Technically, my position has been that community boards and residents associations don't put forward the proposal. But generally, in a practical sense, any feedback you get, it's not unusual for me to provide it to the developer, and the developer may then choose to take those suggestions on board and adopt it as their own.
Okay, and if he says no, I'll stay with what I've proposed, what happens then?
Well, the discretion's always with the community board to say yes or no to any.
It's up to us, okay.
Yeah, and we often, when we get these standoffs, we'll often recommend that the developer come along and do a deputation, which we've done here. But they have just said, leave it up to the community board to make a decision.
Okay, thank you. So can I just check informally, the Amy's Road one, are there issues with that or?
Yeah, I've got a question on that. There are a couple of lanes, lane 1 and lane 4. When you pronounce the ale and the ho, they actually can blend and sound like the same lane name. And I'm just wondering about the practicality of naming very similar sounding names in such close proximity to each other. I can imagine you calling a taxi or an ambulance and saying, go to O lane, and then going to Ho lane, which comes off O lane. It's just.
We do.
The phonics are similar.
Yeah.
Well, how are they actually pronounced?
Ow and ho.
Yeah.
Ow and ho.
And really ho, but
yeah. To the general public who are looking at this, they look at those names, you could easily pronounce them the same by mistake. And most New Zealanders probably would, to be honest, I'm afraid. So I'm just wondering about the sensibility of naming such similar sounding names.
These have gone past the emergency service recommendations as well, haven't they?
Well, that's why we go to LINS. So we do a check ourselves, and I guess part of that, the cultural advisor will outline if they think they're similar.
Yeah.
But it's probably not. And they go to LINS as well, but I suspect the system isn't, as good for Toreo as it is for English. But I mean, they're spelt quite differently. I think they're pronounced differently when pronounced correctly.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit hesitant. Yeah, look, I think I'll leave it there, actually.
I mean, I'll just put it out there. I'm concerned enough with their similarity that I'll be looking to propose an alternative for one of them.
Did you have an alternative in mind to Puaki Lane has a somewhat similar meaning to?
Yeah.
Puaki has a interesting one because it's more than just come forth and open out. The term Puaki is to emerge. Like you can refer to, for example, in the Māori world, if you're looking at your tāmoko on your face or on your arms, it's for that to emerge through your skin to become you. So it's a deeper meaning, and all of these are quite entry level meanings, but there are deeper meanings to some of those words. And Puaki would suit reasonably well. There's an alternative here. So
she's saying for
if it's in order with stuff.
Yeah,
saying for lane 4.
Thank you. Andre, did you have a question on this one? No. So look, I'm going to move these in 2 separate groups, I think. One will move the Amy's.
Can I?
Yes, yes.
There was just mention, would that be replacing lane 4?
I
would go with lane 1.
I think I'd look at lane 1 with Puaki.
Well, lane 1, my concern is pronunciation.
Yes. So
AO.
It's the same as getting hurt,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but OW. I mean, I know that's not Māori, but like in terms of phonetics, AO to me might be a harder word to pronounce.
Be easier than HOU, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think.
Ho.
Honestly, I have no lived experience of it, so I wouldn't know.
Look, I think what I'll do is I'll move them in two separate groups. We'll have the Amy's Road ones, we'll move those and people can make amendments, and then we'll move the Quaifs Road, because I think the Quaifs Road one is more contentious. So Paul, do you have any further comment? I'll ask you to stand back.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much for your help, Paul.
So just double checking, are these alternatives, any of these alternatives selected?
Yeah.
Can be changed in for one of these?
That's right. So the alternatives have always been checked and are appropriate to use if the main names aren't appropriate.
Okay, thank you. So we'll approve the following new lane names for 24 Amy's Road. Do I have a mover of the ones there and a seconder?
No, we're looking for a mover for the
No,
names.
but if I can put this on the table and then I can have sort of an amendment.
We don't need an amendment.
I don't?
No.
What do you want to do?
So Mark can move it.
I'm happy to move it.
As with lane one, Puaki.
Yes.
And the others as staff recommendation.
Yep,
staff
Look for a
recommendation.
seconder for that.
Have I got a seconder for that? Marie? So I've got a mover and the seconder, and we're changing
Lane one.
Yep.
Way.
Y1.
See?
Yep.
So, and then we'll go on, once we've done this, we'll go on to Silverhorn Drive.
Can I just
Quaifs
ask,
Road.
is the justification for doing lane one and not lane four because of the pronunciation, or why were you chosen to do that?
I just feel like it's the more appropriate one for Puaki.
Sounds good.
The hearing Councillor Harrison Hunt's explanation, I thought was very appropriate.
Okay.
Okay.
So we've got an amendment, well, no, we've got a motion on the table. We've got a mover and a seconder, and we've got a change for lane one.
Puaki.
So Mark, if you want to speak to this, you've been very busy this evening.
No, I actually think it's fairly self-explanatory from there, and there's no point in getting too deeply into this. We'll just move on.
Okay. Anyone who's got an opposing view? Okay, I'll move the resolution. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 2. We approve the following new road names of 48 Quaifs Road, and road 1 is Silverhorn Drive. We've heard from residents, they're a bit concerned about the mountain names, but we don't seem to have any alternative, which isn't a mountain name. So does anyone want to move anything?
Madam Chair,
Quaifs Road, yes.
could I potentially move that we leave that decision on the table and refer it back to staff for further advice and discussions with the developer?
Okay.
So we can just decline it or not move it?
Sorry?
We can just decline it or not move it, or?
We can.
It's going to be hard.
On the table, we can yes or no. We can say yes or no, or
It's
someone got
easy
an
to just
alternative.
vote no.
Yeah, there's about 4 options here. Deb.
Helen, can I just say that that's a bit awkward when we've come across this before, when we want to lay it on the table when the developer wants to move forward with names, they, people, etc. So especially leading into Christmas and our next board meeting, etc., if we're wanting to lay this sort of thing on the table. I think it's been there with us for a few days and we haven't questioned it until now. It could have gone back to the developer and back to us for today if there was any serious concerns with it.
Oh, the Residents Association, yes. I didn't hear anything from them.
Yes, I think it's the deputation, Deb.
Oh, the deputation you want laid on the table?
No, the deputation caused it to be laid on the table.
Well, yes. Just to be clear, we're not laying it on the table. We're going to lay a report on the table. So we've dealt with one. So we won't lay it on the table, but we can either decline that one or not make a decision on it and just request.
Okay, that's cool.
How does that affect the developer? But I'm only thinking of the Christmas period, etc. And they may come back with alternative mountain names anyway. We don't know. They didn't provide us. So, but I'm just thinking, how does that affect the developer?
They did provide alternatives. And they provided 3 mountainous also. But the Horsell Association would like to go back to the drawing board.
Yes.
And we could easily just say no to this and then it'll come back to us.
Exactly.
Yes.
When the developer comes to talk to us.
Yes.
Yeah, what happens, which is what I raised before about our other one that we had about Laloli Place, and we kept going to and fro, and then the staff said to us, you need to be careful, otherwise they will wipe it completely. They will wipe that completely, and it can become quite difficult.
Well, they won't wipe out the street or anything.
Do you mean wipe out the delegation to the community board?
No. The developer could turn around and, well, yes, they could provide us with more names, but it might not be what residential people are wanting.
Well,
So
we'll never know.
it could be more mountainous names.
Well,
but
we'll
in
never know if we don't
process-
try.
Well, I
No,
guess,
I know.
There's only one name that
I
we
guess Deb, the staff can say we've got issues with mountains that aren't linked with Halswell, I suppose. The other,
Debbie, would you like to move the resolution?
Pardon?
Would you like to move the resolution? Currently, there's no movers for it.
Well, you can.
No, well, I'm not moving it.
Can
So
I-
currently, there's no movers. Would you like to move the resolution?
so look, I'm happy to have.
You mean the one that's
this debate.
tabled already?
That's right. Would you like? There's no movers. Would you like to move it?
Then we can vote on it.
There's no move to approve
Well, I
the new
mean, I
road name.
suppose, in order to get it on the table, I'll move it.
You'll move it. Is there a seconder?
Well, to get on the table, I guess I'll second it.
Okay.
And then we can
Okay.
do what we have to do.
So, sorry, I've lost, are you moving it, Deb, as a sort of resolution to stay with the current name?
Well, this is what we're doing in order to get it on the table to discuss.
Table, then we can decide.
All right, okay. And
I'll
a seconder
second.
remark, that's fine.
Let's vote.
So we'll have the debate on it very.
Can't vote against it if you second it, Mark.
Pardon?
Can't really vote against it if you second it.
You can.
No.
I think there's enough people around the table that can do that.
Okay. Debbie, are you wanting to speak in favour of it? Now, you've gone.
Oh, no, I think I've spoken enough already, and it's not that I'm opposed to what the Residents Association is saying. I'm just saying I'm very aware of the process and how lengthy it can be and how time consuming it can be, not just for the developer, but for the staff, and to only come back with perhaps similar names of other different mountains, etc. So I'm just aware of that, that's all. And so I'm not opposed to one way or the other. I'm just doing this to get it on the table.
Okay, thank you. It's Mark and then Hank.
Yep. And I'm doing it to get on the table. And I've got every faith in the staff and Paul to go back and have the conversations, having spoken closely with the Residents Association to convince a better name to come forth so that we can have a better decision next time.
Okay, thank you. Hank?
Can we recommend just that we want a more local name?
Relevant name.
And that they can go back to the residents and
I think we can.
talk to them?
We can add a
You
second.
can move that.
No, we can't.
Andre, are you wanting? Andre, would you be wanting Warner Drive?
Oh, on the table. Okay.
Good suggestion. We'll have to talk about
But in fact, we can foreshadow a motion. So-
We can't even move
Yes,
that.
yes, we can, because you can foreshadow a motion if this is lost.
Or we could make this.
Yes, yes,
yeah.
we can
Or we could make this
foreshadow one.
quite easy.
So Hank's
The
saying
motion
that
can't be
staff
those.
return to the developer requesting more local names.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Paul's going to do that.
No, we can put it down formally. I think we have to actually. Yes.
Cool.
I'll second Hank's motion, by the way, the foreshadowed motion.
Great.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tyler.
I just wanted a point of clarification here, because if we say that, and it should be a noting amendment,
Yes.
or even if which doesn't matter, if it's within standing orders, but that staff member that was here.
You're still here.
Sorry, what was your name?
Paul.
Paul.
Lowe.
Paul, if Paul's going to go back to developers, is that what is going to happen once we say no to this?
Yes.
So that's already going to happen. So we
Yep.
could just vote on
Let's
this,
vote
and
on
the
this,
job
get
will
it
be done, and Christmas will be
And we,
closer.
and then Paul, we trust to do the work. Yeah, that's fine.
And the other thing to point out, we're having a recess committee. So if there was any urgency.
I don't think the
This is
recess
not-
committee
this
is going to go into
No,
mountains.
but if it goes back to some urgency for some reason.
Yeah.
This doesn't classify as an urgent
No,
matter.
it's not urgent.
Oh.
But if it was urgent, then recess committee would do it, yes.
But-
So I have a recommendation, not to put on paper, by the way, I'm not scaring staff today. It's around that local mountain name. Well, there are actually some really particular ones that are in the Wairua area, Taumatu, Ngaituahuriri, all that have related mountains to each hapu that would be really relevant to them. And I'd advise that they go back to Mahanui and maybe gain some clarification to recommend to that developer. So just are we noting to make it easier?
Thank you.
But yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to moving on.
Yes, thank you.
Can we
So
just
I'll,
vote?
I'll actually put the resolution on the table. Can you read that out, Faith?
That the board approves the following new road name for for 48 Quace Road, Road 1, Silverhorn Drive.
We approve it, okay? So
Yes,
it's
we're
recommending we approve. All those in favour say aye. Against? No. So it's lost.
Beautiful.
And I do think with the recess committee, if there was some urgency on the developer's part, it could come if he's very.
It wouldn't
if he's wanting.
qualify as
This
an
does not
emergency.
qualify as an
Well, it could, I think, in my view.
No, it
No.
doesn't.
It's urgent for him.
No, that doesn't qualify for.
Well, I
Well,
trust we've got
emergency.
I trust we've got a
No,
great recess
no.
committee that'll handle the matter
Yeah.
with thorough
Yeah.
urgency if need
I'm
be.
just saying, if it was urgent for some
No
reason,
worries.
it could be for him. Okay, thank you for that. So we're moving on to Bradshaw Terrace. Now, this is comparatively easy.
Happy to second, Helen.
So are you planning to move?
Oh, you're going to move, aren't you?
Helen's going to move.
Yeah. Happy to second.
Happy to
Yeah.
second, Tyler?
Absolutely.
I support.
So is there anyone coming to the table on this?
Andrew.
Yes, if you'd like to.
And Tomlinson
We've moved and seconded.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Unfortunately couldn't be here in person, but she's online if there's any questions. But there's been a very long history to this one, and it's great to see this project working its way through. Certainly, the street is looking fairly tight at the moment. I just went down there before. Largely in terms of traffic and parking, it's very similar, except it swaps one part of P120 from one side of the road to the other, which was consulted on. And I think there's a difference in parking spaces between 37 in the old scheme and 33. But the benefits of the new alignment, aside from being able to being wider footpaths to walk on and more greenery, is the turning circle at the end is a lot better. At the moment, it's a very blunt end to it, and not particularly easy, I imagine, for large vehicles to turn around. And also, it removes the opportunity for antisocial road use activity, which is occurring down there in the very large end of that street. You can see the marks on the road at the moment. So that by the planting towards the end there outside number 10, that should at least help with that situation.
Thank you. And we had an on-site street meeting with residents, and there's also a lot of drainage being done. It's road reconstruction, and there's been complaints about drainage at the end of Bradshaw Terrace, so that will fix that as well. And there's long overdue commitment. So it does show the benefit of nagging at council. Our board, every council knows about Bradshaw Terrace, even if you live in Berwick, they kind of know about it. So we've been down every year on annual plans. So it's been a long time, but it's here now. So I think I've moved it. Seconded, Tyler. Was there a question about it at all? Tyler, you had a question.
Yeah, putting aside standing orders and moving and seconding. I have questions about this affecting the rest of the CRAF project. Just as in light of the long-term plan, is there potential of the other CRAF projects being?
Through you, Madam Chair, that would be one for the project manager and to answer.
I can answer that. All the CREF funding that is in place is secure, so there's no risk to any of the CREF funding at all. It's all locked in and secure for all our projects.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Love to hear it.
Thank you. So
good news.
Andrew, I'll ask you to stand back from the table. Have you got a question or a comment?
I've just got a brief debate.
A brief debate, okay. So I've said what I need to say. Mark.
Thank God for CRAF. It's been a long time coming, and I'm sure many board members and councillors over the last 13 years will be jumping for joy at this one. So yes. Thank goodness we're finally getting this done. Well done, Helen.
Thank you very much, Mark. And thank you, Tony, for perseverance on this. So I'll move the resolution. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's done. Thank you.
Thank you for latest crowdfunding.
Great job, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tyler.
Thanks, Anne.
Just don't tell Yanni.
Well done, Helen. I've seen you battle this one out for a long time.
Yes. I can retire now, Deb.
Yeah, yes, you can. After that, you've been battling that for the last 10 years since I've been on the board anyway.
You got one more issue to go, Helen.
Thank you.
One that will never go away.
Oh, Andrew, if you'd like to come to the table, we've got item 11 and 12. Perhaps if
Happy
we
to move.
move them, Mark moved, seconded Marie.
Move
Both of them.
Andre.
Hang on, Andre moved.
Yep.
Sorry, Andre.
Andre,
And
And Marie can second
Marie seconded.
as
That's
a local.
Kinsella Crescent.
Yep.
Okay, Andrew, if you want to take us
Good,
through this. Thank you.
Oh, I guess just briefly, all about these, well, that Kinsella Crescent one was, very, very difficult situation. Just the driveway position right on the bend of the road and the width of it. And I guess coupled with the demands from the childcare centre, but we had a very good response from the childcare centre who asked their staff not to park in that place. And from what I've seen, that's worked. There's still the risk that someone could park there, especially outside the reserve. And I think we took the opportunity we did take the opportunity to propose extending the no stopping lines, because there's actually a pedestrian cut down that comes out of the reserve. And we'll also try and look to connect that up with the other side crossing point, but just improves that visibility.
Okay.
And that's Kinsella. And in regards to Sir James Waddy Drive, there's some very, very large loads that do come and go out of one of those properties there. So there was quite limited consultation. The parking is moderate, or even moderate to high at times. It's workers' cars parking there mainly. In my view, the priority in these industrial areas is actually to get those large loads in and out. We did the vehicle tracking, and it's also been referred to the asset protection team, because there's some benefit to actually widening their vehicle crossing at the same time. And also when they've got large loads that are oversized or reaching that, to actually consider some temporary traffic management to assist them getting in and out, rather than, I guess, trying to tailor everything for all, the road to all scenarios.
Yep.
But we feel that the no stopping in this will actually make quite a difference to the everyday general business from this property.
Yep.
I think it's very long and wide loads at times.
Thank you. Any questions for Andrew on 11 or 12? Because I've been asking Andrew to step back yet.
Just one.
Yes. Go ahead.
There was so the main comments were from John Jones Steel next door. I think it would be fair to say they would prefer the parking to only be removed on one side of the road, and for the next door company to look at traffic management or other things like that. It's also worth noting that because it's actually a grass swale across the road, that the cars can legally park on to the left of no stopping lines. So as long as the weather, they'll probably be able to park there. And so the actual loss of parking is quite minimal, really.
Okay. Thank you very much, Andrew. I'll ask you to sit back.
So, Mr. Hensley.
Okay. Number 11. Has someone moved that?
I did.
Andre and Marie.
Andre and Marie.
I think we voted on.
Have you seconded both? 12 as well?
I'll do 12.
I'll do. Mark moved 12.
Well, we can vote on 11.
11 first.
Okay, we'll
11 first.
do 11 first.
Aye.
So all in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Number 12, got a mover, Mark and Sarah. Mark moves, seconded Sarah. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Item 13 is the recess committee. And is there anyone who wishes to speak to this, Faye? As a staff member?
This is my report. It's just a standard governance report to cover the period over Christmas and between the last meeting of this year and the first meeting next year in February, in case any emergency arises that necessitates board meeting. And the proposal is that a committee be set up that will have the powers of the board over that time.
Question.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Now, you might have some questions here if you haven't been. Marie,
Question, does it include councillors or just the board members?
No, it includes council.
Includes
anybody,
councillor.
any board member, yeah.
yes, it's quite a long time. It's quite much, because we're only having a meeting once a month. It means it's quite a long time.
No, it's quite
Normally we
standard
meet
time.
about.
I know it'll be standardised, but we used to have 2 meetings a month. So we'd have one 1st of February probably, normally, in the past.
Yeah, but Helen, the recess is only there if required.
Yes, I know.
Normally not required.
No. Thank you. Sarah?
Is it important that the people on this committee are physically in Christchurch?
Yeah, yeah.
For the whole period?
And what happens, if a meeting is called, all board members are invited as well.
Well, as long as there's a quorum in the room, other board, anyone can come in. The whole board could be there, and somebody could Zoom in. But as long as there's a quorum in the room, for the committee, which is the minimum of 2 board members and the board chairperson or deputy.
Right.
So Faye, just to clarify, are you wanting a delegation for chair, deputy chair, and board members for a recess?
No. Appointing a recess committee comprising the board chairperson or deputy chairperson
and 2 other members
or nominees from the remaining board members, plus a minimum of any other 2 board members.
Well, I'm available, so I'm happy to be on part of the recess.
Nobody needs to be named other than the chair at this stage, but all board members will be able to. But we just need a minimum of 2, yeah.
Question, another question. I'm just aware of people's leave schedules. Is there a way, instead of having like for the whole period, can we like have a split?
It sounds like you've already potentially got 2. You're going away, Helen?
No.
No, and Debbie's volunteered.
Yeah.
So you're able to do it? So you've got 2?
No, we need a minimum of 2 others.
Over Christmas.
You mean a minimum of
2 others.
2 others.
Yeah.
Cool. So the
Helen
2
and
other,
2 others.
so the 2 other volunteers?
Yes, it's 2 other volunteers. Yeah.
Well, so Debbie's 1.
Debbie's 1.
So you need 1 more.
Anyone else who's?
I'm happy to volunteer.
Debbie and Mark.
Done.
Good. Good.
That's exactly what I was going to do.
Unless you wanted to.
5?
That's
Is it
recommending
5?
exactly the same as Andre did.
Yeah.
Is it 5?
You okay with that? Marie?
I just need the chair and 2 others, Debbie. So
Oh, no.
Helen,
My
Debbie,
question earlier was about whether it can be split,
Thanks,
like
Debbie.
for this period.
I think this works as a
For
easy
the-
solution, yeah.
So we don't need.
that is
We've got a
if-
recess committee,
If
Marie.
you're, if it's called and you're in town, then attend.
Yes.
It's as easy as that.
No, that was before.
And I think we would call in everybody if they were here.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't miss that.
Have we moved and seconded?
No, we haven't moved.
Happy to move.
Thank you.
Move.
Have a second.
Andre seconded. No,
Tyler.
Tyler's.
Andre.
Mark.
Oh, Mark?
Yes. Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against. We've got the
spirit.
Christmas spirit. But now this is the Halswell for the Hornby-Riccarton Better Off Funding application for consideration. And this is that pocket park where there used to be a memorial library. And as I sent around in an email, there has been an engineering assessment which has seen the building as dangerous. So the recommendation from staff is to improve the grant up to 75,000 from its federal funding, Christchurch City Council, towards the development of a pocket park. So it's Crown land, so there's no advantage in selling it because it would go back to the Crown. So there's some discussion about a lesser amount, but I'll leave it at this stage at 75,000. Someone want to move, and I mean,
Oh, no, I'm not moving. I'm asking questions.
are you happy with us up to 75,000?
I'm going to ask some questions first.
Okay, that's fine. So have we got a person?
Hi.
Oh, good.
So, Jess, Jess, it's really simple. In terms of the split that we've had between wards, because I have a strong feeling that other wards will not want to contribute to this because they have other really cool projects in their areas. How much is left in those pots of 150k for Riccarton that we haven't dedicated anything to,
We've only
and or
supplied
the discretionary part, which is 50K.
all of it. So we've only funded one project so far, which is the Horswell one, which is the car. Sorry, Hornby. And so there's nothing been taken out of the Riccarton pot or that extra 50K.
Just 22K so far.
And how far, I did read that report, but it's more around the committing of certain funds that we wanted to get some sort of steer on.
Yeah, so
I can't remember how much exactly we in Riccarton asked for in terms of investigation. Remember those projects that we asked for?
Yep. I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's cool.
I think it's 150,000 per ward.
It is, but
Yeah, but how much is committed based on investigative projects?
Yeah.
Per that. I can't
didn't-
remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
But so this, I mean, this is proposing up to 75,000 contingent on the demolish happening before the end of next year. And if that doesn't happen, then that proposed amount would be held and transferred back into the Better Off Fund as unspent to allocate to a new project.
It's never going to run.
So to be clear, there's the demolition, and then straight after the demolition, it's proposed to have a design straight away to do the work. That is unreal. I've never heard that in a long time.
And there's also community support contributing around, I think it was $21,000 from the now disbanded Upper Riccarton War Memorial Trust. So they've envisioned that this space for a very, very long time. And I spoke to her on the phone this week, and they are very excited that this could be a potential park, legacy park, remembrance park, and that money has been held for this purpose.
So if we did push that out, I just really want to know when the work's supposed to happen, because if we did push that out and I went for substitutions in the long-term plan for some things, how far would that push that out is my question, because I really don't want to get away from the work that could happen straight after the demolition.
Yeah.
But if that is out far enough, where the long-term plan might be able to get underway.
I put in here, if the site is not demolished by the end of 2024, the funding will be returned.
Okay.
Yes.
So you'll have, I guess the answer in the long-term plan, will it be through the long-term plan or just
So I have
through the budgets?
So I've talked to my fellow councillors a little bit of Mark, but not necessarily in depth, even Andre, around the potential of me finding substitutions in the Metro budget. There are two budget lines that are $2.6 million and another one is of around $1 million. I'm trying to see if I can substitute $25,000 out of each. And they are coming out of the heritage funds, which are supposed to reinvigorate spaces, which would be really, really good and in line with the Anzac Memorial Hall. I'm expecting that heritage will push back on that, which is fine, completely understand. But it's finding a like for like.
And also you get a movement amendment, it's up to councillors to approve.
That's right.
At the end of the day.
So I want that as a backup plan. And I also don't want this to be put in limbo to 2025 if there is a possibility of it being done by 24. So that's where I'm at the moment. If I can fight to keep our Better Off Fund for other things, great. If not, then that's fine too. I'm quite able to put some money aside, but I don't think, I'm getting the feel of the room, that 75K won't work for everyone here.
It's the resolution is up to 75K. So potentially you could have that resolution of up to, and next year you could get those projected figures once the demolition is planned and potentially make those substitutions should you be successful, and it won't be that whole amount.
So that would come to us before the long-term plan draft goes out?
Potentially.
So there's, sorry.
I want to come up to the table, Matt.
There's no decision to demolish as yet. So the board have said for the past two board plans, we would like to demolish, and if it's demolished, we'd like to potentially go with a pocket park. That decision has not been finalised. I think there's a live resolution sitting on the table with council to demolish, but there was some extra investigation that needed to happen. So there's the potential. What you're doing today, if you approve a grant, not talking about the quantum, but if you approve a grant, you are saying, should we demolish Upper Riccarton War Memorial Library, the board is supportive of putting in some kind of pocket park legacy memorial space. The community is saying they would like to do that as well. Having heard what you said, councillor, you can hedge your bets by making a grant of up to an amount, $75,000. Doesn't mean that all $75,000 needs to be spent. Doesn't mean $75,000 is an amount to play with. You've got some money that the community organisation have got, 24, is it? It's 21, so they've got some money as well. You haven't seen the design. Parks could come back to you with a design and it could just be green space and it could be done relatively cheaply. The demolition budget is not coming out of your 75. The demolition budget is coming from a different budget. What you're doing by saying yes to a grant today is giving some certainty of if we demolish it, we would like to keep the site and we would like to use the site for a memorial, and we're putting a bit of money towards that.
Well, in that case, Madam Chair, I'd be okay setting it on 75, which means that we put that 75 committed.
Yes.
Thanks, Matt, appreciate that. And then we use 75 already that we've got.
Yes, we do.
So the 75 committed, that isn't promised until 2024. We'll use the rest of our 75, which projects that we do know can take it straight away.
Yes.
And then if we don't fully commit that 75, then
yes,
we can make it work.
I'm actually meant to contact you. I think it's safer to do it this way because it means you don't have to come back to the board.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, and then they might say, well, you're inside 6 months. There's some technical stuff round.
Sure.
How often you can bring things back. So I think you're probably better to go to up to 75,000.
And there is a risk that, say, for example, I wanted to use the long-term plan to be able to hedge my bets and go down to 50K and get a substitution from Metro. That's not assured. But for us, I think that would be more beneficial. High risk, high reward, if you know what I mean. Meaning that, for example, if we go up to 50K, then we're able to use the other 25 for people that are actually doing stuff around the ward that do really, really good things. Because this could be of Metro interest, seeing it maybe in Anzac Pocket Park.
Yes.
It's a dedication for our Anzacs that actually served in Upper Riccarton. So those are the arguments that I'm having, the question I'm having right now.
Yes.
And I'd welcome board direction on how we think it could look, because remembering that the whole board is going to be affiliated to this, not just the Riccarton elected members.
And I guess there's another option going up to 65,000. So we could do an intermediate thing as well. So that, I mean, that's an option too, to bring in.
I'd love everyone's thoughts on it, yes.
Yes.
Saying up to 75 or 65. It's just having it there.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's the safer option actually, but it does mean you mightn't have as much leverage.
Well, it just means, that's what I mean.
End of next year.
Yes, I realise that, but we're hoping it's down before then, I hope.
So,
so anyway, those are the strands of thinking around it. So, does someone want to move up to 75,000?
I do have a
Tyler or not?
Well, the 75,000 would come out of our pot, and we'd have to let the board know that, because I don't think, and I'm just garnering here. Yes, I'm just garnering here that it wouldn't be very well welcomed around the table around us all sharing that.
Did you want to change it therefore, Tyler, to up to 50 or something like that? Would that sound better?
Yeah, there are political risks associated to asking for a resolution at the council table. If I put in 75K, and that's a great dedication of our Better Off Fund, and then asking for a further, remembering that it's up to 75, I could therefore ask for a certain amount from substitutions up to 50K, for example. So if they approve 50K and we said, yes, we're going to put in 75K, and then a bid of, say, 80,000 comes to our table, I'd expect to pay 30K from a Better Off Fund and then 50K from the substitutions, if that sort of makes sense.
Yes. So what I think you're saying is you want to hedge your bets. So it sounds to me, if you made a grant of up to 75, which would enable you to do it if you didn't get any substitutions.
Yes.
But if you get substitutions, then that up to 75 obviously reduces because you've got other sources of funding for it coming in.
Correct. Does that make sense to the table?
Yep.
Yeah. I think it does. Is that feasible, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, because if you are unsuccessful through the LTP with it, so I think the demolition is what what, 6 to 9 months, did we think? So we think the demolition is going to be 6 to 9 months. So even if a decision was made to demolish it tomorrow, that means that it's not going to happen until the end of June, possibly September, and you'll know your outcomes, your LTP decision by the 1st of July.
So just to help me understand this, by going for 75 grand, do we risk not being able to, like, looking to see, well, you've already got that amount? Okay.
So if you made a grant of up to $75,000, it would enable you to do what is in the paper before you, if no other income came in. If other income came in, that $75,000 would potentially reduce.
Yeah, it just secures that the project could happen.
Yeah. Good.
So in that case, does the board understanding of it and comfortable with it?
So
Helen, what do you
happy to move it, or?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Tyler moves, I'll second. So it's up to 75,000 from better off funding, and it's the Riccarton branch of that.
Is that just for the demolition?
No, we're not. No, that's council's responsibility.
Demolition's covered.
It's purely the actual recreation of the pocket park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it could be in tiles or something like that, and seating, etc. I don't know.
Just landscaping.
There is quite a
Okay.
brief in there about what it is.
Yeah, I think we're safer to look. Personally, I think it's safer to go with up to 75,000. It does mean you haven't got quite as much leverage at council with the council funding. That's the downside.
Yeah, we'll see how we go.
This man's got mana.
Councillor. Yes. So Tyler's moved. I second it. Does anyone want to speak? Oh, Tyler, go ahead.
Firstly, I'd like to thank staff. I mean, Matt, you brought it to me a year ago with this great idea, and the way that you've brought everyone on the road with you, it's been fantastic. And for Jess to pick that up so easily, it's been amazing. In terms of the Anzac stuff, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that works, and also backing up on our promise to provide more pocket parks for Riccarton, being one of the most concrete jungles in the city. It's going to be fantastic to have a green space that people can go to, reflect, relax. And within the report itself, it's actually really good around making sure that we have safer neighbourhoods, we increase tree canopy cover around our city, and we also encourage our residents to come through Riccarton and enjoy it. So aside from all of the amazing stuff that the Upper Riccarton Memorial Library had, I'm looking forward to continuing that kaupapa and reflecting within this pocket park and acknowledging them through all the sacrifices they made. So thank you very much, board, for supporting that.
Thank you, Tyler.
Looking forward to working LTP.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Okay.
A lot of legacy.
Well, okay, I'll put the actual resolution. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carry. Thank you very much. And thank you, Matt, for coming in, and staff who've worked on this. That's great. Now I've got Mark leaving.
Sorry about it.
And Tyler, are you leaving?
I'm staying.
Well? Tyler as well. They've got another.
I'm staying.
Oh, you're staying. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. You too. See you.
See you, Matt.
Now we're on to item 15.
Happy to move.
Right. You're moving both, Andre?
Andre and
Yep.
Sarah.
Yes. Andre and Sarah. You stay at the table. You may have comments, and I'll, yes. So we've got it tabled. Does any questions of Bailey? No? Thank you, Bailey. You right. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. That's great, thank you. The
Shout out, Stockburn.
Community Board Area Report, it's Jess. So if you wish to comment, Jess.
Helen will comment for me this afternoon.
I take the area report
Oh,
as read, yes, but I just wanted to have a wee discussion with the community board. I've heard from Maddie the visit to Matatiki, and she wants to know whether you want to go on the 25th or the 1st of February, 25th of January or the 1st of February. So they're both a Thursday. And I'm thinking there's no committee meetings on the 25th. Council.
Sorry, where's that going to? Sorry.
Atiki, Hornby Centre.
Mark will be at that proposed organics processing trip.
25th.
That's not by our office. Oh, is it?
What date? What date's Helen?
Same date.
25th of January,
Yeah.
the
If my
1st
date's
of
correct.
February.
That's
So is this a
So
walk?
then the 1st of February. will
Walk
probably-
through.
Yeah.
Right.
1st of February is probably best for us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 1st of February.
I'll
Thank
wait
you.
till okay.
What time, sorry?
They will see me.
I'll get back to you with that, but I think it's
That's a board-
first,
the
first
board
thing in the
meeting.
morning.
Okay.
No one's in walk very
Thank you
soon.
very much, Helen.
Yeah. Now the other thing I wanted to talk about, Matashiki, so we presented the Better Off funding proposal about the play space. We've gone out to a person who works in that area, and she's come back with some information for us. And then I've talked to the project managers to do with Matatiki, and we're thinking we can do some of the play features as part of the landscaping plan, so that it would cost a lot less. So we're trying to get as much as possibly done through the landscaping plan that's already getting done. So that kind of means that we'll go forward with some elements. So we're looking at some possible pathways, encouraging exploring. So that might be like flowers in a circle or something like that, or a maze sort of thing, but we're not exactly sure. We're wanting some elements that have a physical activity which blend into the natural surroundings, elements to encourage interaction, and that's where we'll probably come back to the community board, and that'll probably be around seating and things like that, and maybe some elements that encourage some quiet spots for people. Are the board happy for me to go ahead with that, with the project team and the landscape designer, and try and get as much done as possible that's not going to cost the board?
Yes. I mean, when you say it like that.
Right. Does the board have any other questions?
Do you expect us to talk against that?
I was hoping not, but yeah.
I guess if frees up money
Frees up
for
money,
other
yes,
parts
for
of
something else.
Hornby, but at the same time, this is an amazing opportunity, and I don't want to risk, having a average job done when we could.
So we'll come back to the board with probably around that seating stuff, because that would be quite good to have something quite unique and special.
Yeah.
But what that looks like, I kind of need to talk to the landscaper and the designer first.
Okay.
So we'll bring that back to in February.
It's good for the Hornby Men's Shed to be involved in some way too, if they're going to make stuff, outside stuff.
Sorry?
It'd be good for the Hornby Men's Shed to be involved.
We can certainly talk to them.
Talk to them.
Yeah, that would be great.
If they had the opportunity.
Yep.
Then, good advertising for them if they can put a wee plaque up and say, whatever happens. Yeah.
Be cool to have some kind of innovative, like different things that perhaps other areas like that don't have, like that little kids are like, oh, well, let's go to the thing that, Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so any other questions?
No questions, just comment on the report.
A comment, yes, if you want to stand back, Helen. Thank you very much for coming. Okay, Andre, you want to comment?
Just noting the item about a Halswell Community Patrol, which met a couple of weeks ago. The room was very full. We had to keep going out to get more chairs, which is always a good sign. Marie was there as well. There's now a committee formed. There's a chairperson, there's a trainer, there's a treasurer. The key positions have been identified and filled. The committee will meet late in January, and come the next community board meeting on February 15th, I trust there'll be another update for the board.
Thank you.
How the job is going. Carol's at the quarry, very, very dicey weather report, but it ended up okay. Halls Scout served up 1,000 snacks, and there are only 17 loaves of bread left over remaining, which were promptly put in the Halls sharing shack to make sure they don't go to waste.
Okay, thank you. Tyler?
Just a quick question. Just the senior manager here. Did Mary approve that or was it Andrew? T's and C's.
T's and C's of what?
Andrew Rutledge is the new general manager.
That would have been system generated.
Got you.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's system generated.
That's
Yeah.
system generated.
Cool.
Okay.
It was approved by John, so.
Yeah, it was approved by John.
Got you.
Thank you.
We have a mover and a seconder to receive.
Okay, anyone want to move the report? Sarah, seconded Marie. Any other comment? I'll put that, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried.
Fabulous report.
Great. Now we're on to elected members' information exchange. And as I understand, yes, we can't ask for action on this. We're just talking about information. Okay, there's probably a lot's happening.
There is a lot.
Andre.
No need to ask for action. There's already plenty of action going on. Westlake wildflowers, the trial. I understand they look absolutely fabulous. They've recently planted Westlake. Unfortunately, some people have been around there today and picked a bunch, like literal bunches of. So I'm going to go have a look on the way home. So hold the thought for now. But it may be that we add some signs saying you touch the wildflowers.
Do not pick flowers.
Yeah, that's better than what I was about to say. The tennis courts at Ngāpunawai, they're not generally used often because Ngāpunawai is extremely, extremely windy. So most days of the week would not, it's not generally where you go to play tennis. However, there's like 20 tennis courts or something. They're about to all get locked up and it's pay for use and it's $10 per court per hour. And
Hold on, what?
Yeah. I've just made an inquiry to find out, is that managed through council or is it privately? Because of course, Ngāpunawai is a public-private partnership. When it was built and when was that decision made? Like the courts already don't get used that much. I walk through there all the time, never seen them getting used once. And yeah, now they'll be locked away and possibly getting even less use. So, but also, why would you go play somewhere in an exposed windy place and pay $10 for it when you could go to one about, sheltered out? Yeah. So I've asked about it and we'll report back.
Trees.
There's heaps of planting to come at Ngāpunawai, which again is needed for windbreakers, but I will report back on that matter at our board meeting on the 15th of February. That's all from me. Thank you. Oh, sorry, just one more point. The government's made some changes to speed limits, and it's looking a bit unclear as to what that might mean. It looks as though the 30 signs around schools that we've approved and that are going up, it looks as though they may now need to be the variable speed limit signs, the electronic ones, which cost 20 grand a pop to put up. So around Oaklands, for example, that would potentially mean having to spend 20 grand on Cobra Street, Ensign Street, Balkan Street, Hindes, potentially. So
It's going to be council or Wakavete?
it would be council.
Yeah.
So we're waiting to hear more on that, but they've also signalled that this is the first lot of changes, and then there will be a next lot of changes coming that makes us put speed limits back up, which would be at an expense as well. So it looks like council are coming, as councillors will be getting briefed with more information in January as to what it all means and what work will go on hold or what extra cost there might be, so on and so forth. So that is another item I will report back on the 15th of February at our first meeting. Yeah, that's all from me.
Ironic.
Thank you. Now, Tyler, can I ask you just to say what you've been doing over the last few days up in Waitangi? Because I think it's quite helpful.
Sure.
Yes. And then go on to anything else.
Yeah. I was with Councillor Moore.
Oh, you was.
And we went on a young elected members hui up north in the far north. We went to Waitangi, the birthplace of the nation, and we were with other young elected members who are under 40 across the whole country. Is it 50?
50 members.
Oh, yeah.
50, yeah.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
So there are 50 members from across the whole country, which included Lower Hutt, Wellington. Even the mayors came. Sam from Selwyn came. There were many from all over the land, from the Mutsu. And we went over a lot of issues surrounding local government. and the similar issues that we have and ways we're able to solve them. And it was actually a wide range of political, what's the word? Spectrums, if you will. It was really, really cool to gain perspective from different perspectives. And yeah, we learned pretty much a lot, really, about the treaty and Te Tiriti, obviously, and how that set out and what the issues were with the far north. We also saw the severe poverty in the far north and the work, funnily, that New Zealand First did in terms of their regional infrastructure fund and what that fund went to. Shane Jones did a huge amount of investment in that area, and he's definitely picked up a lot of work in there. They're really, really good in the far north about being together, about utilising what they have. And the Far North District Council actually have, I think it was 30%, was it 30% of people who haven't paid their rates on time? Something, it's very high. The deprivation is quite severe. So they're dealing with a lot of things up there, and the lack of resourcing is always a big one. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, yeah, Andre, I hadn't realised you had gone as well. Is there?
Oh, yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was one of the highlights of being a Lex member thus far. Got a lot out of it.
Good, thank you.
Yeah,
great.
Can't wait to go again.
Thank you.
That was actually LGNZ.
Yes.
LGNZ do a great job in looking after, particularly our first termers.
Yeah.
But yeah, and in terms of the Riccarton stuff, I'm pretty much just focusing on the long-term plan at the moment and the vast amount of resolutions I've got to cut down. I did talk to ELT and they said, Tyler, you can't put 24 resolutions in, so now I've got to go back to the drawing board. But it was a joke. But in terms of the stuff for Riccarton, I'm really focused on the Church Corner reinstatement of the Pocket Park, Sockburn Park redesign, of which was a priority for us. Looking for youth spaces and helping our youth in the ward, and also accessibility to digital works. So, for example, a native app, like a one-stop shop, essentially. We have 5 apps across council, and they vary in pickup. So I'd rather have a consolidated app. That Leanne Dalzell has actually moved forward, but they haven't done too much action on it. But in terms of the Riccarton stuff, I really want to gain more perspective from this area, the Rata Street area, and that resident association, see where the issues are. And also looking at some work in the Dean's Precinct. They have 2 really big ones, which is obviously pushing forward with the craft works and renegotiating that sales yard around a community-minded aspect of fixing that sales yard and making it usable until they do something about it. So there are some really, really cool things within the ideas in Riccarton. We're just going to wait till February to see if they get put forward. And if they don't, we'll just find alternative means and addressing them. So
thank you.
Don't
thank you. Now, is anyone else? I've got a few things. Anyone else?
Question. Has anybody been able to tune in yesterday with the National Community Board Huey?
No.
No. It was a Zoom meeting for the National
I
Community
haven't done
Board.
that at all.
That was at 1:00 yesterday.
I haven't been involved in that at all. I mean, it's my choice, obviously, or I'm not making that time. Okay, can I just go over, we haven't got Mark Peters here, but obviously the council's approved the organics processing plant out in Hornby. Is there any comment from anybody here about that?
I've had a lot of comments about it.
Yes.
And it's just a lack of information, really. Everybody's really concerned that we're going to bring Bromley to Hornby.
That's right, yes.
And that's not what we're doing. And everybody's concerned about the lack of public consultation on the move.
Yes.
And, my answer to that has always been, well, if it was a trucking company, we'd never have public consultation. They just go ahead and build their building and do their trucking business. So what's the difference? To me, it's a commercial venture, and provided the rules are followed. If they're not followed, then believe you me, I'll make a noise. But provided the rules are followed, and if it's as good as what they say it is, and I've got no reason to disbelieve that, then where's the problem and where's the need for public consultation is my answer. And by and large, people get grumpy, turn around and walk away, so they say it's not too bad.
And is Mark talking about a public meeting? I've seen some
Yeah, I
emails.
think he was. I'm not sure why he's doing that, but he's had a lot more stick than when I said.
Yes.
Oh, but a public meeting is always a good thing. If,
Yeah.
if people
Yes.
have
That's
questions,
right.
then to have
And,
staff there to
Yeah.
answer them. Is
Yeah.
And I'm
important.
sending any inquiries from media to Mark. So that's just because he's got a better technical background and he's been there as a councillor.
Yeah.
So, okay, plan change 14, there's a
Oh,
pause.
Helen, I've got something to say on that subject.
Go ahead.
I've got
Certainly.
my hand up. Sorry, you mustn't have seen
Sorry.
it.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
just following on from what Henk was saying also, lots of people concerned, and in answer to your question, Henk, about what's the need for a consultation, it's just part of the standard process, really. And yeah, just for people to have their say, it's just part of that process, isn't it?
In this case, because it's not council building the facility, it is Ecogas and it's an industrial, they're able to do it. So it wouldn't be
without consultation, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Because Mark had asked and got a response back outlining it.
Oh, okay.
And then, but also because council had to make a decision on a preferred supply, there's all the commercial sensitivities involved, which means, certain things can't be made public until something's done. So
I do have some concerns about the extra truck movements.
Yeah, well,
that's a problem to be solved.
Yeah, there it wouldn't be many extra, is my understanding, because they've actually got various depots throughout Christchurch where they change over. So it's actually very, very little truck movements.
Okay.
There'd be more truck movements from the places surrounding it, is my understanding, but we'll be able to find out exactly how many movements.
Yeah, that's we went down the track.
Information since it's come out, and like what you're saying, that the explanation, I haven't looked in the last couple of days, to be honest, but if all that information was out, it would just relay a lot of rumours, concerns, you know, and
people just think green waste, Bromley problem.
well, that's the perception.
Yeah, that's the perception.
That's the perception. Yes. And Mark is going, I did say to him, you're going up to check on this Rotorua plant, and they are.
Well, me and ask if Mark have asked to go. It's like,
which would be good, just to make sure it is what
it's like, I just want to go and see it. Like,
see it.
I you know, ideally I'd prefer to go see an example, go, right, okay, it doesn't smell, then feel comfortable, voting or something.
And I have sent an email to all board members with a link to the information page, which will be updated when there is information to provide, and also the direct email if you have questions.
Because the briefing's still not available, which I would have thought, because I didn't realise it wouldn't be available straight off. Otherwise, I would have changed some plans to watch it, but I still haven't been able to. But as Mark mentioned, they're trying to amend it, I think, so it can go out to the public. But if there was a way that we could see it as a board, just the raw meeting would be quite helpful.
Yeah, so good check on when that's coming back.
Well, I don't know that we're going to get that. We might be still waiting on getting the edited version that goes out to
I don't
public.
know, but we can find out.
Could you?
Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Because Hornby people are particularly, you're going to get lots of questions, aren't you?
Well,
at Hornby.
Yeah, I can't walk through the mall without somebody saying, excuse me.
Yeah, you don't have the answers.
And you've got to have the answers. And we don't.
We're getting lots of questions, and we're getting lots of questions in Halswell as well.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is clearly because of the concerns that Bromley had about smell and how far it would carry. And, so there's the matter of being able to affirm that that will not be the problem.
Yeah, and I need to go see the thing before being able to truly respond to people, which is why I really want to go up.
You and Mark are right.
So what?
Yeah. Okay, plan change 14. We did a presentation on behalf of the board. It's been paused. That's the board members who are not councillors. We were on the same side as the staff. I think to Brent Pizzy we were on the same side, so it was quite good. They were requesting a pause because central government is changing the medium density rules. So what they actually come up with, I don't know, it'll be on pause for about March, will it? Do you think, Marie?
The minister hasn't responded.
There's just a minute from the hearings panel has just come out today. And I think they're expecting at least some direction from the minister by next week.
It goes to the Minister of the Environment, doesn't it?
The Minister for the Environment will approve the pause or not.
That's right.
But if they haven't heard by, I think January 15, they said, or next week. It's in the minute, the hearing panel's minute. They will have to resume.
Sorry,
in
at the
January.
moment, they're assuming, they've got dates in for January that
Yes.
they're maintaining, January 24th, I think, because they haven't had a formal request to.
Formal
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, so they've
what
got
to
the
do.
dates in for next year, assuming it'll go ahead, but
So
aware that. that's
in the
likely to
meantime,
cause,
the panel had requested some information from the community board. Has that been provided already?
It's with Faye and we've got to work on it. It's the two,
Yes,
it's the two
because
max.
the instructions for all of us, but whatever the panel had requested
Must be
must still be
Oh, yes,
provided.
absolutely,
um,
absolutely. Yes.
Soonest.
Yes.
So as soon as they say that they have to resume, they're ready to resume.
Good.
So they have
That's
all the
fine, I think. And we
information.
have two max, yes, which was with Faye at present. We just haven't worked together on it.
And so just to clarify a point on the government policy as well. So the government policy is to make MDRS optional, which is medium density.
That's right, yes.
But it means retaining the MPSUD rules, which enables up to 6 stories on in catchments around rapid transit.
Yes.
So what it would mean is if council did not proceed with the MDRS,
Yes.
but was still made to proceed with MPSUD,
Yes.
what it would mean is less intensification throughout Christchurch, and it would mean more intensification focused around catchment routes, namely Hornby and Riccarton. So in opposing MDRS, what you're going to get in return likely is actually more intensification in Riccarton Hornby,
Yes.
as per the government policy.
Where will you get less?
Well, instead of, so MDRS is the 3 stories throughout Christchurch. Well, 50%
Except
of
for the
Christchurch,
qualifying
except for
matters.
qualifying matters. So it's,
Right.
so it's up to 3 stories spread out anywhere and everywhere,
Right.
except potentially 50% is qualifying.
Pretty much everywhere.
But the MPSUD rules around 6 stories and catchments around rapid transit routes
Corridors.
Hornby and
would
large
still then
centres.
allow for up to 6 stories. Well, yeah,
In the corridor.
Riccarton through Hornby through Belfast, Papua.
What's the catchment for that?
Or well,
round
it's a certain
commercial
certain amount of meters from a centre.
Oh, it's from the commercial centre, like the.
Yeah.
Like Hornby's got 6
Yeah.
stories, we've got 6 stories.
Yeah.
The other thing though, I spoke to staff and that's John and Mark, and they felt the high density was going as well.
Well, possibly they
I
haven't
don't
read the
think it
government's
is,
policy.
personally. Pardon? I don't think it is personally.
Well, if they read the government policy and they also read the 100-day plan,
Yes.
it commits to National's going for housing growth policy,
Yes.
which retains the MPSUD rules
Which
around.
is my understanding too.
Yeah.
I thought if they
Yeah.
think it's going, I'll leave that alone,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's still there personally.
Well, it is, yeah.
It is, yes.
That's what they've said in their coalition document.
Yeah.
One of the concerns, of course, is.
Now,
where
can
that
I
measure
just,
from.
is so,
Yeah.
so basically it's going to the minister. If she,
It's gone to the minister
if she
already.
approves, then there's a pause. And then it will wait till the government comes out with its medium density strategy. Plan change 13 is going ahead. That's the heritage. And Sarah Templeton had plan change 12, I think, going ahead. That's coastal
What's Sarah
difficulties.
Templeton has to
Sarah
do with
Templeton
it?
pushed in, or she got an amendment that plan change 12 is proceeding. It's not, nothing I've been involved with. So
Yeah.
that's around the
Plan
coastal
change
issues.
12 is still being drafted.
That's it, the coastal issue,
yep.
yeah. So
The
plan
work to
change 12 is going
continue
ahead,
that
plan change 13. So the panel will have some work to actually do, I think, still. Now, the residents associations that haven't spoken,
Excuse
are
me,
central,
sorry, the panel doesn't have anything to do with plan change 12.
doesn't it?
The hearings panel is only for plan change 13 and 14.
so, yeah.
Plan change 12 hasn't been even notified yet.
Okay, so she's just wanting that to proceed. The people who haven't spoken to the panel on Plan Change 14, the Greater Hornby Residents Association, Central Riccarton Association, and there's another one, and Church Corner Association. So they're down to speak and we're planning to speak at the end of January. So that will depend on what the minister does.
Yeah, and are they aware that not proceeding with MDRS will likely mean more intensification focused around Central Riccarton, Church Corner?
Well, perhaps I better check with staff again.
Hornby?
Yeah, because I was going to let it lie, but perhaps I have to face up to it. And,
I understand Halswell Residents Association has
Halswell too,
already
yeah.
been in front of
Have
the
they been in
panel.
front?
They have
Yeah,
already
yeah.
been.
Yeah.
Greater than the-
Presumably, if going by their policy wording, it would mean no more 6 stories in the Halswell Town Centre, but it would
That's right.
retain them for the
That's right.
mass rapid transit
Yes.
route and
Agree.
mass rapid transit route,
So I've got-
presumably only. Well, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I
haven't seen the
better ask
legislation yet.
them again. I
Yeah.
thought I'd leave it and hope it goes away, but it may not.
No, definitely not.
Proceed, okay. The Hesketh's Road, sale of property at Hesketh's Road, it's in the public arena. A Hindu temple's being planned there, so you may get questions on that. It seems to have gone through a sale process, which was done in the last annual plan.
It's under process.
So that was done that the council was prepared to sell those properties.
So how did that process change, Helen? Because it's not the usual process. How did that change?
Well, I understand that council changed its delegations to the board. So any sale of land doesn't come to the board anymore. It goes straight to council.
I understand that the property at Halswell was in the LTP at the same time as the Gilbert Thorpe's one. So that they said that this is surplus land, surplus council land.
It was listed in the LTP 2021 on the disposal list.
So it
to
went
speak.
to the community board
and
at
it was
that time.
consulted on at that time, and the board actually did comment on it, and commented that it was happy with the sale, but recommended conditions around activities compatible with the motorsport.
So if the process has now changed, does that mean the rest of the Hesketh's Road properties won't be coming through to us either?
No, they've already done, it's already been done. In 2020, the process changed.
This was changed, no, I was just going to say it was changed 3 years ago, Debbie.
And the Hesketh roads all went through, property went through the 2021 long-term plan as package. So they were all on there up for disposal, but there's only one, I understand it, so far that's gone through to a sale.
Yeah, I personally helped assist the group in chasing up Hesketh Road.
And
under
we
my
did
multi-cultural portfolio.
We did recommend, I think, that it be used for motorsports activities.
Compatible
motorsports, but we don't.
Compatible to motorsports activities.
Yes, it's like light engineering, something like that, but it hasn't been
compatible
used
at least no noise complaints.
Yes, yes, we saw it as light, very linked activities, but that hasn't happened. So, but it does seem, Deb, and I didn't realise that if the sale of land, it doesn't come back to the board. So we would have to argue that through the long-term plan process, I think, if we feel strongly about it, because it used to come to the board.
I just wondered, it's just that with recent communication I had with staff on it, I'll need to go back and read that email, because I thought, and I could have read that wrong. I'll have to go back and read it. But I thought that, I just thought that it said that that it has, that it will come back to the board. But like I said, I'll need to go back and read.
Would you? Thank you.
But even when it came to the board, our decision would get overruled anyway, like with Quaves Road. So maybe they just took away the process.
Yeah.
We might have said no to this.
And the anointing amendment, it said that they're going to step aside from policy, right, anyway, in terms of that motion itself, that particular motion around Hesketh's Road.
Yes.
It said that there was they had a special consideration for that group because they're quite a decent way through with their project. They're fundraising at the moment and it's gaining some good traction. And it was surplus to requirements, of which would be hard to sell anyway in regards to the noise, specific noise issues around Waipuna anyway. So there's many things attached to that, and they're a very keen organisation who want to see a temple be built, which is fine. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. And I attended the opening of the netball centre, and I was surprised to find myself and Phil the only elected members there. So there must have been invitation from the netball centre that didn't go round.
That's because we weren't invited.
Yes. So I just presumed I got an invitation. I replied, but
no, I didn't get
it
one.
was only Phil and myself there, so it can't have gone round board members. But that's opened, and there's 12 courts, I think, which is really good. and it's used for volleyball and a few other activities as well. But it will help, will help netball. Okay, that's about all from me. Is there anyone else who's got information?
Oh, just to share, Tyler, we have that ethnic women have a go at some sports. So I joined the one ethnic women have a go at badminton.
Awesome.
But we did that in Canterbury Badminton in Pages Road. So I don't know, I was hoping there's something here. They do have badminton in Wigram. Yeah, but they said that's private and it's more expensive. So we use
badminton.
the cows near the cow stadium.
I'll ask them, see if they do a deal.
Yeah, but yeah, it's good that the migrant women are doing this. I think the first activity they did was fencing. Ethnic women have a go at fencing, so different sports activities, and then this one, badminton, and then there's gonna be football and there was football before. So
Table tennis.
Table tennis. Oh, and pickleball. So keen to try that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's going around the community.
Thank you. So I just wanted to, we'll have five minutes on our own. So I'm just about to conclude the meeting. Debbie, if we keep Debbie online, I just want to talk 5 minutes, and the prayer is first. Thank you. And I'll sit.
Uni hia ki te uru tapu nui, kia wātia, kia mama, te ngākau, te tinana, te wairua, i te ara takata. Koiara e rongo, whakairia ake ki runga, kia tina.
Thank you very much. Just want to thank